Whenever you're ready. Good morning, folks. We are with Patrick Price from Daymaker Charters. Fishing report for February.
All right.
Good morning,
Yeah.
Patrick.
Good morning. So we had a just a quick recap on January. I think our last episode we talked that we were hoping some good sail fishing would happen, and we had ended up having probably the best deadbait sail fishing I think in the history of the East Coast of the United States, or Florida for that matter. During the Pelican Yacht Club tournament, there was a record number of fish caught. Specifically in one day, I think it was 760 fish by 25 boats or something like that. So pretty phenomenal fishing. We were fortunate enough. That was our first day of fishing in the tournament. We were fortunate enough to catch and release 40 sails in 5 hours of fishing. Unfortunately, we didn't win the daily, so that's kind of a
You did 40 and didn't win.
yeah, did 40 and didn't win. We caught 31 in 2 hours and 11 minutes. Pretty awesome. I think we caught 4 quads, 4 or 5 triples, but 4 rod tournament. So could have been pretty ugly if it was unlimited rods or 6 rod tournament even for that matter. But very special fishing. It's about 50 miles north of the Fort Pierce Inlet, which is about 20 miles north of the inlet that we fish out of. The really strange thing is we've had a lot of good, cool weather, cold fronts that have come through since then, about 2.5 weeks ago, I guess now. And that main body of fish just has not arrived here yet. And I can't even say it's on our doorstep with guys fishing out of Fort Pierce Inlet. Everybody's been going around and searching for those fish. People have been running back 50 miles, 60 miles to the north looking for that body of fish, and nobody can seem to find it. So we hope that it arrives at some point. Maybe it's way offshore. Maybe it's past us already. But I know that for the quantity of fish that was there, it hasn't been great in Miami or the Keys yet. Palm Beach, for that matter, hasn't even been really good. So there's a glimmer of hope that there's still things to come. The dolphin fishing has been sporadic at best. Very uncharacteristic for this time of year. We've had some phenomenal conditions, but we're picking away. We're catching a few dolphins and a few sails every day. 3 or 4 dolphins, 3 or 4 sails, occasionally 5 or 6 sails. Some days with 1 or 2, but it's been okay, just not as what we would hope for after what we experienced in early January. Looking forward to February. I would hope that in our fishing forecast for February, since those fish haven't arrived,
They'll show up.
maybe they will finally eventually show up into February and March, and we'll have some really world-class sail fishing to go on. Again, along with that, we would hope that the body of dolphins that were around would arrive again. Our cobias should start to show up here soon. They'll show up in big numbers here in February, typically second or third week in February, and be here through June. We catch them on our inshore wrecks. We sight fish for them. We catch them off of manta rays. We catch them off of our bottom spots where we would target amberjacks and grouper and snapper. We'll fast forward through there. Really, the cobias is going to be the only big transition or new arrival besides the dolphins and sails that should be here. Groupers haven't really shown up in big numbers like we'd like to see on our bottom structure here, but we did have a couple good fronts this past week. We were able to fish Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we've been weathered out the last few days, so hopefully some fish have arrived on the wrecks. They're here to spawn this time of year. That's why the season is closed January 1st to May 1st, and we'll start to see them group up in the different rocks in the different areas in big numbers, and we know where we need to go on May 1st when the grouper season opens.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to all that. Springtime is a great time of year to come up and fish in our area, or come down from up north and fish, and so is February and March. A lot of good fishing that goes on. So
How's the inshore stuff been? Snook fishing?
inshore fishing's been good. The snook fishing's been it can get tough this time of year because when we get these cold fronts and the river temperature gets down in the low 60s, those fish get very lethargic, don't want to eat. However, you get a day like today and tomorrow and the next 3 days where it's going to be 70 degrees, that water starts to warm back up. Those fish start to feed on the surface again as opposed to down on the bottom. You'll catch them around the bridges and stuff when it's cold and it's rough, and those fish are laying on the bottom, anchoring themselves, just waiting there for feel something with their lateral line to come by, and they'll feed on that. So slow moving on bouncing jigs on the bottom, DOA bait busters and terrorize and stuff. You can't move it slow enough. You'll get some bites doing that, but as soon as this temperature warms back up like it's going to do over the next 2 or 3 days, the seawalls and the docks and the stuff will be firing with the live bait again, shrimp and pilchards and mullet. So that'll be really, really good for the coming days until the next little cool blast, and those fish will move to deeper water and settle down again.
Well, I thank you, Patrick.
Say lunch.